All right, let's just jump right in. We all have a pretty intense relationship with our technology, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about its relationship with your mind? I don't mean just as a tool you use, but as something, well, something more. Today, we're going to explore this really fascinating and maybe a little unsettling idea about where your mind actually ends and what it means if it can be hacked. So picture this. You get a notification on your phone, just like the author of our source material did. It says you have a new memory, and it shows you a photo from a day you had totally, completely forgotten. And for a second, it feels weird. It's like the phone isn't just showing you a picture. It's literally giving you back a piece of your life. It's a brand new memory, and it didn't come from your brain. It came from your phone. So that begs the question, right? Was that just a helpful little reminder from some clever piece of code? Or is there something much, much deeper going on here? Is it possible that the line we draw between our minds and our machines is way blurrier than we ever thought? That one little notification is our way in. It's a real-world, everyday example of a wild philosophical concept that really challenges the whole idea of where our thoughts, our memories, where ourselves are even located. You know, philosophers actually have a name for this whole idea, the extended mind hypothesis. And it basically says our minds don't just stop at our skulls. To get our heads around it, let's look at the classic thought experiment that kicked this whole thing off. Okay, meet Inga and Otto. They both want to go to the museum. Inga thinks for a second, digs into her biological memory, recalls the address, and heads to 54th Street. Simple enough. Now, Otto, he has Alzheimer's, so he relies on this notebook he carries everywhere. He pulls it out, checks his notes, sees the museum is on 54th Street, and off he goes. So here's the big question. Are their actions really all that different? This is where something called the parity principle comes in. It's kind of a rule of thumb. It says if a process out in the world, like Otto checking his notebook, does the exact same job as a process inside your head, like Inga remembering something, well, then we should probably think of it as part of the same cognitive process. The notebook isn't just helping Otto's memory. For all intents and purposes, it is his memory. And that, right there, is the extended mind hypothesis in a nutshell. The idea is that for Otto, that notebook isn't just some tool. It's a literal physical part of his mind. His beliefs, his memories, they're stored right there on the paper, just like Inga's are stored in her brain. His mind actually extends out into the world. Okay, but if we accept that, even for a second, things get complicated. It opens up a whole new can of worms. Because if parts of our minds exist outside our bodies, well then they're vulnerable in ways we have never, ever considered before. So think about it. If we're taking seriously this idea that Otto's notebook is a physical piece of his cognitive system, what happens if some bad actor comes along, crosses out 54th Street and writes in 64th Street? They wouldn't just be messing with a notebook. No way. They would be directly altering Otto's mind. They'd be changing his beliefs without him even having a clue. In the world of computer security, they have a term for this: system gaslighting. It's an attack that totally confuses a system about what's part of itself and what's not. It tricks it into trusting a bad actor or ignoring a good one. And if you apply that to the extended mind, you could literally gaslight a person by messing with the external parts of their brain. So let's pull this out of the philosophical weeds and into our everyday lives. Because let's be honest, in our world, Otto's notebook isn't just a notebook anymore. We all have these modern notebooks. I mean, really think about it. Your GPS, your calendar, your to-do list. What about your social media feed that shapes how you see the world? Or even apps that track your most vital health information? We're constantly offloading huge chunks of our thinking to these systems, and we trust them, like, completely. And this isn't just some what-if scenario. The Guardian actually reported on a fertility tracking app that was funded by anti-abortion campaigners. The app, which women trusted to help manage their health, was actively steering them away from certain types of birth control. That is a real-world example of somebody manipulating a part of someone's extended cognitive system. And the attacks are getting even more sophisticated. I mean, it's wild. Researchers have shown how just a few well-placed stickers can trick a self-driving car's AI into seeing a speed limit sign when it's really a stop sign. Or how they can hide an inaudible command in a song that tells your smart speaker to go to a malicious website. These are direct hacks on the very systems we're starting to merge with our minds. Now, of course, there's a pretty obvious counter-argument here, which philosopher Kim Sterelny brought up. He basically said, look, you can't just sneak in and rewrite a memory in someone's brain tissue the way you can in a notebook. Our internal biological memory isn't vulnerable in the same way. The outside world is just, well, it's less secure. But is our internal world really the fortress we think it is? I mean, what about optical illusions that trick your brain into seeing something that flat out isn't there? Or all the cognitive biases that quietly shape our thinking every single day? The source material even brings up expert pickpockets who can hack your sense of touch with a firm handshake just so you don't feel them lifting your watch. So yeah, our brains can be gaslit too. And really, this whole debate pushes us towards an even bigger, deeper question. This isn't just about security or technology anymore. This is about what it even means to be a self to begin with. Our fear of all this might come from a very specific, traditional Western idea of the self. This idea that we're this isolated, contained little core inside our bodies. And from that point of view, any breach of that boundary feels like a major threat. But what if we look at it another way? What if the self isn't a single thing, but a distributed system, a dynamic team-up between our biology and our tools? If you see it that way, the connection isn't a vulnerability. It's the very thing that makes us who we are. And that's what we're left with. As our lives get more and more tangled up with technology we trust without a second thought, the question isn't just, can my device be hacked? It's, can I be hacked? If your thoughts, your memories, and your beliefs are being actively shaped by an external system, where do you end and where does the code begin?